Out of Essex, chapter 17, which begins with an epigraph from the Tao Te Ching. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. When I let go of what I have, I receive what I need. Mary Fawkes gently pulled the sheet, quilt cover and pillowcases off the bed. How could that just have happened? Dan was 53. She was only 2 years younger. Opening the curtains, she was hit by the tapestry of roses blooming up and down the suburban front gardens. Oranges, reds, purples and creams. Dan should have been exhausted. But no, he was already outside in the early July sunshine, whistling, loading the caravan in which they would spend the next month, and then back to Chelmsford with Rose and Edward for a fortnight. After that, it was unscheduled, to be made up as they went along. Dan had been bubbling for weeks, cracking jokes, acting like he was 24 when they first met. The financial weight lifted from them was one factor. Each daily check of the joint bank account indicated that they might never have to worry about money again. Clifford, bless him, had seen to that in his hard-fisted negotiations over the royalties from Dan's video and the rights to his story. It also meant that Dan could invest, if that was the word, his currently plentiful spare income in the Southend Park experiment, whatever that might turn out to be. In search of ingredients, they had met up with Mickey Gaze again 2 days ago. The sight of the crooked billet made Mary tremble, memories rushing back. She heard Russian and Chinese accents in the public bar. It was the oddest thing, unfair somehow, how tourists now flocked to the much celebrated intactness of Old Lee, while much of Southend groaned under the Herculean task of reconstructing miles of wrecked seafront buildings. Mickey was still a stranger, so they'd knocked back the double bowmars to help leapfrog the conversational uncertainties, bending themselves back into the 12 May spirits. Let's refer to you-know-who as Sal, said Dan, looking furtively around the crowded bar. When did you first meet him, Mickey? Down at the casino a couple of years ago. He'd been looking at me for about 2 minutes by one of the roulette tables, and then he asked to borrow £2. He was so bloody tall and intimidating. So, to get rid of him, I said yes. Then I watched him place it on black 10 times in a row, matching his clothes, every time putting it all back on and winning. Mary worked it out, over £2,000, so that was his ATM while he was here, a roulette table. He paid me back 200 for that £2 loan. That night they actually banned him from playing again. He said it was the 4th time he'd taken £2,000 from them. He asked for my mobile number, and after that I was his ATM for each visit. Seems I just got paid back. How the hell did we end up in this story? Asked Dan. Do we get to meet God in the last chapter? Ex-fireman Mickey didn't know, but he oozed practicality. He told them that he built parts of his own house. He could wire and plumb, sort out car engines, heating systems. He was pleased as punch that a guy named Dave Dawson had been in touch. This bloke badly wanted to know who the park's new owner was, he said. His house overlooks the place. I don't know if he's mad or he can see into the bloody future, but he reckons he's known for years that some sort of apocalypse was coming. He stored up a seed bank and other survival stuff. Somehow he just seems right for what we're doing. So I told him all about the project, I mean everything, and he wants in. Mickey said they had met up down at the Railway Hotel in central Southend. He's a local, lived in Southchurch all his life. We're going to need every bit of help that's out there. Mick shook his head, grinning. And he's only gone and told me that the real King of England was some elderly geezer living in Australia. Do you remember that historian, Tony Robinson? He played Baldric in Blackadder, recalled Mary. That's the guy. Well, funny. Anyway, Dave swore blind that Tony Robinson proved in 2004 in one of his history programmes that the current bunch on the British throne are illegitimate. Pretenders, he called them. Mary had watched Dan light up at that and almost everything else Mickey mentioned. the joint responsibility for the moneyless park's finances, helping its unknown income as bed in, and the serious physical work to be done. Mick, I've been half killing myself, doing other people's work for much too long, Dan sighed. I never knew this was coming, or that I would want it so much. Mary's brain was seething, dancing, pirouetting around the mind-shattering fact that Gandhi and the Buddha would be active again, living amongst them, according to Mickey, with Satan as their minder. However hard she pinched herself, their lives kept turning somersaults, flipping into deeper unknowns. Best of all was how her husband was such a joy to be with again. What they had just experienced was wild and surely impossible. He had taken her up against the bedroom wall, then pulled her down to the floor, remarking on her wetness, before releasing a second spurt. Jesus, Dan, it's like I'm 30 years younger. I've got a bloody wide on, she moaned. 20 minutes later, another climax together using their mouths. She had described it as the fuck of the century, laying in his arms, still adrift in pleasure. Have you taken a pill? She laughed. Not yet, he said, still panting, kissing her throat tenderly. Hopefully not ever. He was straight about that kind of stuff, but never that straight or for that long. We nearly died on May the 12th, he whispered. The tsunami still towered in her dreams, the waves surging up the hill towards them with a power that took away the breath. Like yesterday, she remembered Dan's reassurance. It won't reach us. And holding her hand so tightly that she could not run. Now he tickled her armpit, looking into her eyes. It's all a bonus from now on. And someone has put a new battery in me, Mary Fawkes, charged me up with joy. And here they were, packed and ready to go. The house was tidy. Her boss at the London University had agreed to an ultra-flexible working schedule over the remainder of the year. Don't forget about us, Mary. You're my brightest researcher. Rose was a little worried about looking after Ed, who was 14. Mary felt her daughter was engaging in a silent trade, the washing and cooking for the use of the house with her college friends and boyfriends. Her note kept it simple. Just call me whenever you need, darling. We can drive back in less than an hour. You've got money. We love you. But she was a mum. Thoughts of what could go wrong assailed her as they drove southeast down the A120 towards Rettendon Turnpike in the afternoon brightness. Would Rose be aware if Ed didn't come home? If she was otherwise engaged with her friends? Will they eat properly? What if they forgot to turn off the gas cooker? Dan, what will happen to them if we never come back?